Look at Romans 4. One of the real neat books of Scripture is Romans, I think. And it says that he did not waver at the promise of God through unbelief, but was strengthened by faith, giving glory and being fully convinced that what he had promised he was able to perform. And therefore it was accounted unto him righteousness. This is true faith. Even when you don't understand, you don't see the end of the journey, you don't see the end result of the project, the bottom line of it is that we have to believe in the ability of God to accomplish within us what it is that he set out to do. And think about Abraham in Genesis 22. There are several things that are interesting in this passage is that he took off with his only son to worship up in the mountain. He didn't take the lamb. He did not take firewood. He did not take anything but his son because God had said, your son will be the sacrifice. That is a great deal of faith. But I want to share something with you with regard to that, is that Abraham, when he said God will provide, he believed it. And that when it talked about when God had spoken to Abraham through the covenant and through his lineage, there would be things that would take place. He knew, or should I say, he had faith that God would truly provide. But unlike so many other people, he didn't go have a lamb staked out somewhere. He didn't have his servants go ahead and pile up firewood. He truly trusted in the fact that God would provide everything that he needed. Key number 4. We must unlock is that we need to press beyond the obstacles. And think about this for a minute. What obstacles? What stands in our way? I guarantee you what stands in my way may not even stand in your way any at all. Or vice versa. But I'm reminded of the woman that had the issue of blood that is spoken of in Luke the 8th chapter. She had a real physical issue. She was going to die if she could not find a physician that would heal. And believe me, she had been to a number of them, and they could not heal her. And yet, whenever Jesus came to town, they knew that he was coming, and there was a crowd, a throng of people completely surrounded him. And yet, she pushed herself into the middle of that crowd so that even though she couldn't talk to Jesus, even though she couldn't ask or request, she knew that if she could just touch him, she would be healed. Faith? You betcha. Persistence? You betcha. She had the tenacity of a bulldog because she knew the only outcome that would be beneficial to her was that she had to see Jesus. And in that passage, Jesus says, "Who touched me?" Now then, if you can imagine being in the middle of a throng, he's being touched everywhere. And it's like they're going, I don't know, I might have touched you. I might have bumped up against you. And Jesus makes this statement. He says, they said to him, "Master, the multitudes throng you and press you. And you say, 'Who touched me?' And Jesus said, 'Somebody touched me, for I perceived power going out from me. Of all the people that did touch Jesus, only one person was able to withdraw the power from him that was needed, and this was the lady that was dying from an issue of blood. Do we have that kind of tenacity to overcome obstacles? To overcome the things that disillusion us, that disappoint us? Or maybe we're individuals that have worldly distractions and therefore we don't push hard enough spiritually in order to engage in the things that we need to do. And so if we don't overcome the obstacles, then how are we going to succeed? Paul said in 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verses 8 through 9, he says, "We are hard pressed on every side, but yet not crushed. We are perplexed, but not in despair, persecuted, but not forsaken, struck down, but not destroyed." And he goes on for a few more verses with regard to all of the things that happen, but those things are not stumbling blocks or roadblocks that he cannot get around. Might be a little disappointed, might have to use a little ingenuity, but yet he got around them.